Namaste and welcome. It's Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we're going to be speaking about the benefits of meditation for mental health, okay? But this is a really cool video. Instead of just starting to list out the benefits, what I want to do is something really cool, take you into the science of yoga so you can understand what are the different types of mind, the 5 states of mind, and essentially understand where you are, how you can get better, how you can make your mind stronger, and really understand why people suffer from mental health disorders. This is something I'm really passionate about. Meditation has been my saving grace, as many of you will know, helped me overcome an addiction to drugs and alcohol. And what I want to do through these videos is essentially show people that no matter where you are or what your situation is, you can come out of it, okay? And the science of yoga and meditation is a beautiful, beautiful way to do that. So when I speak about yoga, I'm not talking about, the back bends and the postures. That is yoga, but a very small fraction of the science of yoga, which is the science of self-realization, mastering the mind and realizing our true nature, which is pure love and pure bliss, okay? So in the science of yoga, one of the key texts is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali was a great sage who had a phenomenal understanding of the mind-body connection, how the mind works, how to essentially become victorious over your mind, transcend it, and realize your true nature. And he laid out these Yoga Sutras, which is an exact kind of manual of how to do it, how to realize your true nature. So he was, an enlightened being, of course, okay? So what I want to do today is take you through what Patanjali told us about the 5 states of mind, okay? So 5 states of mind start from the weakest to the strongest mind that a human being can have. So let's get into it. This is really cool, okay? So the first state is Shipta. Okay, in Shipta, the mind is very scattered, essentially. So a scattered mind translates to a weak mind. A scattered mind is like when, let's say, you drop some mustard seeds on the floor and they scatter, Our thoughts are like that, scattered all over the place. It is in this state of mind that you find conditions like anxiety, depression, mental disorders, essentially. The mind is very weak, it's all over the place. The person whose mind it is has no control over the mind, essentially. And it's just taking the person in different directions, different emotions, right? Not a nice place to be at all. The second state of mind is Muddha, okay? Muddha means, in Patanjali's context, it means dark or dull. Funny enough, this is where a lot of human consciousness is right now, okay? So it's said that in this state of mind, the person or the mind is mainly concerned with pleasing their senses, What can I eat? When are the pubs opening? When can I go for beer? What car can I buy? How much money can I earn? I want to sleep. What do I watch on Netflix? These are the standard questions we keep asking ourselves because we want to please our senses in one way or another. And a lot of human consciousness is, in this state of mind, which is why there's so much consumerism. And it's also why people may not realize this, but I didn't when I was in the thick of my addiction and all these things, is that you keep going to all these things for happiness, external things, but you're never truly fulfilled. And because of that, there is this longing, and you're still looking for more, and you kind of don't know where to find it, okay? So that is this state. Now, the next step from there is the Vikshipta mind, okay? And here, this is the mind that is now awakening, okay? So think of a person that has done too much in the Muddha state, and they're now saying, you know what? Enough is enough, because I'm not getting my true fulfillment here. Is there something more than this mundane material life? And this is where we begin essentially to this is the start of your awakening or your spiritual path, whatever you want to call it. So you look into, spiritual texts, you start meditating, this type of stuff, okay? But in this state, in the Vishupta state, it is the start of awakening. So when you are doing your practice, you may be reading a really good spiritual book, you may be doing some meditation, whatever it may be. When you're doing that, you're very calm, you're very content, your mind is thinking about, high things, good things. But as soon as you step into the world, then you're back to normal, because the mind is not yet trained. It's still a bit scattered. It still has power over us. And this is why, this was a huge part of my 5-year journey, quitting alcohol and drugs, where I would have my morning meditation practice, but the mind was still very, it still wasn't strong, right? So as soon as I would go out, I would get given to all these temptations and given to all negative thoughts, essentially, okay? So this is that state, but it's, in my opinion, it's a good place to be. It means that the path has now begun, the journey has now begun. And then number 4 is the Ekagatha mind. Ekagatha means one-pointed, concentrated, focused. And remember, the first one is a scattered mind. So the scattered mind is weak. By that logic, the focused, concentrated mind is very strong. Okay, this is a very, very high state of mind. This is where the person has the ability to focus for very long periods on a high spiritual ideal. And these are the kinds of people who do a lot of huge work in this world. Think Martin Luther King, think Mahatma Gandhi. These are names that will be there for generations and generations to come because of how strong-minded they were in their mission and something good as well. And the last one, the highest of all, is the Niruta mind. And this mind is totally free. It is so strong that it is totally free of any chatter, any modifications, whatever you may want to call it. And this is where you have people that are enlightened, okay? Enlightened, samadhi, whatever you want to call it, liberated beings. And here, nothing affects them, essentially. Their mind is so strong, they've transcended the mind, they've realized their true nature as beings of pure love, and that is what they radiate into this world, okay? So there you have it, the 5 states of mind, okay? Now, what does this have to do with mental health? Quite simple. Remember, the mental health issues are here in the first stage where the mind is very scattered. So without making this complicated, I hope you can see that the solution of coming out of mental health disorders is simply by making the mind one-pointed, more focused. The mind is weak because it's scattered. So if we strengthen the mind, it will become more and more one-pointed, more and more focused, bringing you closer to these states of mind, which is where we want to be operating, okay? It's really that simple. So I'm not going to say any more on this because it really is that simple, and we must take it for its simplicity, okay? But I did promise you that I will give you the benefits of meditation for mental health, right? So let me give you 3 main benefits and you'll see why they make sense now, okay? So benefit number 1 is that meditation will stop rumination. It stops rumination. So what is rumination? Rumination is when the mind goes off on a certain negative thought, how am I going to pay my bills this month? And then it takes that thought and makes it into a nightmare scenario just in your mind. You just write that thought and it becomes a nightmare. You start thinking that, from how am I going to pay my bills to, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. And then you get depressed, essentially. And the reason for that is the mind is not in our control. You see, a thought comes up naturally, right? The nature of our mind is from the subconscious. These thoughts just keep coming up. And if we're weak, we ride those thoughts. We think they're real and we start thinking about them more and more and more. But a strong mind knows that That's just my subconscious playing tricks on me. So let the thought come, no worries. I will just let it pass. I will just let it pass, right? And come back to what I was doing or something positive that I'm thinking about. So you don't ruminate. And when you don't ruminate, when you don't write that thought into a negative space, you're not going to be scared of anything, right? Because you know it's just your mind playing tricks on you, right? So you see what I mean? Not ruminating is one of the best things somebody who is in depression can do, because somebody in depression ultimately is making the worst scenarios in their head about what people think of them, about what they want to do to themselves, maybe harm themselves. You get the point, right? So stopping rumination, number one. Number two is that you cultivate the art of non-reaction. Cultivate the art of non-reaction. And this is similar to point number one, right? So in meditation, what you're doing, if you look at it very simply, you know, you sit down and you're focusing on one thing, maybe your breath or a mantra, whatever it may be. And when you're sitting, if you've tried this, you know that your body, your mind does not want you to sit in that position and do what you're doing. It's going to give you so many things. You know, thoughts come up like, oh, I need to make this phone call. And you have this urge to get up and make that phone call now, right? Or you get an itch. The itch, you never get this itch the whole day. But all of a sudden, when you sit down, you get this really bad itch somewhere on your face or anywhere else. And you train yourself to not scratch that itch. You just sit there. And what you realize is, whether it's an itch, or whether it's a thought, whether it's pain and you want to get up, whatever it is, the moment you decide to not pay attention to it, just leave it. Let it be. It will actually go away. Whether it's your itch or whether it's the pain that you're feeling in your knees, it will go away. Your job is to remain totally relaxed and just focus on what you're focusing on. And by doing this, we cultivate the art of non-reaction. So in meditation, we're training ourselves not to react to thoughts and itch or whatever it may be. But in the same way, when you're going through your day, if somebody makes you angry, you've cultivated non-reaction. So you will now have the ability to not respond in a negative way, right? So especially for mental health, you know, one of the things that happens is we hear something or we think of something and we respond to it very negatively. But now with meditation, you strengthen your mind and you realize that the thought current is going to just come up and evaporate. I don't need to react to it. I don't need to give it any attention. And when I don't give it any attention, it just goes away. Beautiful, right? These are very simple but real things that will help somebody come out of a mental health disorder. This is the real stuff. And the last one, benefit number 3, is that you get closer to your true nature. You start feeling more love and more happiness naturally, right? So why does meditation make you feel more love and more happiness? It's because what we're doing, the ultimate purpose of meditation is to clean the clutter of the mind, right? So, you know, imagine that there is a lake and the lake is muddy. When the lake is muddy, we cannot see what is beneath the lake. But when the lake is clear, we can very easily see what lies beneath. And it's the same with us. So when the mind is muddy, when the mind has too much clutter, too many thoughts, we can't see what lies within our true nature. But when we clean the mind, when the mind becomes clear through meditation, we can see what lies within, which is our true nature, which is, according to the science of yoga, pure love and pure bliss, okay? So I hope that makes sense, right? Just to summarize, the 5 states of mind essentially just go from being a weak mind is completely scattered and a strong mind is one-pointed, concentrated, right? Meditation is the process, the activity we do to make the mind one-pointed. And this is why when you meditate, your mind becomes stronger and you're able to come out of any negative mental health issues. In fact, this should not be the goal. The goal should not be to come out of depression, to come out of anxiety. That should not be the goal. The goal should be to live in the higher states, to be totally free, to be a liberated being here on earth. That is the goal, and that is the goal in the science of yoga. So I really hope that helps. If you feel that this video will benefit someone in your life, please share it with them. But apart from that, thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Namaste.